I don't know. It's acting weird.
Yeah, technology's a mess.
But it's cool because at least like we can connect with people all over the world
Yeah,
and
no,
do
it's good.
interviews like this. So
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It's, these
yeah,
things, some bugs need to be worked out still.
exactly. Yeah. I have no idea what that even did. It was like my computer got possessed or Zoom got possessed or something. But yes, where did we leave off at?
I was talking about the record. And basically, I was talking about the black cover is like people are like, oh, you just want a black, huh? And I was like, yeah. I mean, isn't Metallica's Black Record black? And it's one of the biggest
Yeah,
selling records of all time. So it only really matters. Like it's all about the music. So
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. And you have a music video out called Diablito, and that has some very interesting imagery in it. So how did that concept all unfold?
That was done by our friend Dave Blackley. He's done I think our last three videos, and he did our movie Foreign Films too, our documentary that just came out a couple years ago. Just really a friend of ours. He just really good artist when it comes to like video and stuff. And a lot of the stuff he did before is very like flashy and kind of just abstract stuff. And then he's like, hey, I got this. I want to do like a kind of a mini movie for your next single. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. It'd be kind of different than what we've done before. So he put that movie together and then edited it to the song and then I thought it was awesome. I think it's a beautiful video. It definitely captures the song really well. And it's something different than he would had normally done in the past. Like it was really cool. And people really gravitated towards it. So it's the brainchild of Dave. I give him all the credit for it. We just supplied the music and he made the movie.
What was your initial interpretation of it when you first saw it and watched it back?
To me, it just seemed like the story was a girl who had lost her father, I believe it was, or some kind of figure in her life. He had passed away, so she was trying to find ways to connect with him. And he had left her this book, and I think that when she read or opened it or whatever, she was able to connect to him mentally again, and they were able to join together through the universe, whatever. And she was able to share some extra time with him. So that's what I got right away. I haven't really talked to Dave about it too much. I think that's kind of what the gist of it was. But Dave is very he loves kind of like us. Likes to leave you thinking and kind of come up with a story in your own head because it could be any kind of story. That was a story I'd come up with, but people could have a different point of view. But that's what he wanted. He wanted everybody to come and have their own story of what this girl was portraying or what she was going through. Either she died and met her father in heaven, or she's connecting through him through memories, or it could be a multiple of reasons, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool video. It's definitely different from what you see from everything else out there too.
Yeah, that's we try to do that. We try to stay in our own lane and do our own thing, and meeting people like Dave who are just creative like that, who have a different vision than your normal videos and stuff, I think is really cool, and it's helped us like become more of an artistic band, visually as well as musically.
Okay, yeah. And you like your music, it has like such an atmospheric, it's like really like speaking on the riff parts, the guitar parts anyways, like your parts. Like there's a lot of from my interpretation of your music because everybody's different, but it's like there's definitely an atmospheric sound and then there's like some black metal and like thrash in it, just like all amalgamated together. So like what initially like what do you think it was that really inspired your you to like combine all of these different elements together to create the sound that you have?
Yeah, mainly just my influence have been always all over the place. I'll go from Countercorpse to Frank Sinatra. Like I love such a wide variety of music. I could play in any band and be happy. Like I could be in Radiohead and be happy. I mean, I could even play in Coldplay and I'd be stoked. Like I love every kind of type of music, and I could be in one of those bands and be totally happy with it. But when I started a band, I wanted to start a band that could connect to people in a more powerful way. And to me, metal has always done that. It's always connected me in a way that I go through a range of emotions. You get mad, then you're like, oh, and then you feel cathartic, and then you feel like you just relieve stress, and when you go see a show, there's nothing better than seeing a heavy band just in your face, like just polarizing you. When you leave the venue, you're like, okay, I feel like I just worked out for an hour or whatever. So to me, heavy music has always been the one that's always kind of been in your face, and I love that. But then I always loved, bands like Pink Floyd, which I saw live back in the day, and they moved me in a different way live, and Radiohead, stuff like that. There's bands that I definitely get a connection with. That's not heavy. So I wanted to incorporate all of that. I wanted to mix like Cannibal Corpse with Radiohead to like, Pantera to Pink Floyd. It's like, that was my vision of the band. It's we're still working towards that, but that's kind of where when my thought process is when I go to make a record, that's how I wanted to combine the two. And it's hard to do. It's not an easy process because you can sway one way or the other. You can make it cheesy, and be too overly like Pink Floyd or whatever. It's like there's a fine balance you walk when you're like trying to mesh the two worlds together, where you can't be cheesy and you can't be overly produced and overly done. It's like it's got to be right in the middle. That's the hard part, is walking that fine line.
Yeah, we're like when you were creating some of the songs for Seven, or like getting inspired and stuff, like what kind of did you have like any sort of mental or visual journey like for some of the songs, or was it just complete feeling?
Both. It starts off with, okay, what's a record that interests me, and I always go back to the first Bungle record, the self-titled one, and that record to me is a piece of art. A lot of people don't get it, they don't understand it. It sounds like a carnival to most people, like it's just circus music. And I'm like, okay, but if you sit down as a musician, listen to this record, you are just amazed at what they created. And so for me, like that record's amazing. But then I watched them live in San Francisco on that record, and they brought this energy that no one's ever matched. Like they were all, this is before Slipknot. They were all in costumes. They all had masks on. They were like fucking with the crowd, playing metal, but then not playing metal. And it's like it just had this really cool vibe. So I went to go write Seven. I was like, I want to create that Bungle vibe where it's just chaotic, in your face, all over the place, heavy, pull it back a little bit. That's so I started going on the record with that idea. But then as start working on songs, then you start incorporating my own vision and my own feelings and my emotions, and then what you intend to do doesn't end up that way. Like our record doesn't sound like a Bungle record at all. It sounds like Willhaven, but I just use my influence to get me started, and then it just turns into what I create, and it's all based on emotion. Like everything is like it has to move me in a certain way for me to keep it and continue to write on it and work on it. So I have a blueprint, but it never comes out exactly the way you envision it. It just kind of morphs into its own thing.
Okay. Have you ever had a moment like where you've been up on stage playing and experience something that hits you with inspiration, and then like as soon as you get off stage you have to go to the dressing room, the bus, whatever, and just play it out in your head? And if so, like what song specifically were that?
When we play live or at a
Yeah,
show?
like
Oh,
yeah. But
um,
like sometimes like Pantera, like Dimebag would say that they would kind of put the crowd on hold for a moment and create riffs and stuff. So have you ever had a moment like that where like something's popped in your head and you just gotta play it, or just like you're like while you're on stage, or like have to wait till like you get off stage to just like go record it right away or get it out, play it?
yeah, it's funny. I've some interviews I've watched lately and stuff, and some other artists like they're able to walk down the street or have some kind of experience in their life, and they can hear a riff or hear a song to that scenario of what's going on around them. I think that's awesome, but I don't have that to me. Like to me, I don't have to. It seems like music or riffs just channel through me instead of me having to go. you know, pop, or I don't know, it's weird. Like I'll sit down. I don't When we play shows, I'm just so like 100% locked into what we're doing. Um, like I can't, I'm blind. I can't see Phil on stage, so I'm concentrating so hard on playing our song that by the time I'm off stage, like, oh god, I got through it. Okay, good. Um, but I do, yeah. When I know life is crazy and it does have its inspirations, especially artistically, but when I sit down in a chair and I pick up my guitar, I just stuff flows out of me. Like I just start writing riffs. Like my hands just write the riff on its own. Um, so I've never been that artist where something like I see something, oh, that sounds like a riff to me, or oh, that, it's like I haven't done that, which I think would be really cool. Just I don't really have writer's block ever. I just sit down and play my guitar and like I'll find a riff. It'll just come through me and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna record it, keep that, and then I build off that like a building block. Um, so all my inspiration just comes through my hands. It doesn't come through like what I see around in the world, even though Williams' music does fit the chaos of this world for sure. There's a great soundtrack for it. But I don't really write to that. I just write what comes out of my hands.
What is there a certain riff that really like sticks out in your head that you created that came to you that just like really resonates with you like to this day throughout your entire discography?
That's a great question. Um, I would have to say, I mean, it's probably the easy choice, but the Carpe Diem riff to me, um, it seems to be everyone's favorite riff. It's so simple, it's so easy, but even to this day, when we kick in a Carpe Diem, I still, feel the groove of it. I still feel the heaviness of it. It still feels good to play, even though it's such an easy riff. And I think it's like 20 years old now, that riff. But that one to me, still, when it kicks in, I still feel it. There's a lot of new riffs on our new record that I enjoy playing. But I think Carpe Diem is always going to be the staple for me. It's like, okay, it's, when we kick into it, it's like, okay, this feels good. It feels right.
Yeah, so now I have to ask, so which riffs are those from the new album that you really enjoy playing?
I love playing Diablito. The opening riff is fun to play. It's groovy. It's heavy. The ending riff is good. For all future time, I do like the first two riffs in that song. Um, I like playing Five of Fire a lot. It's a hard song to play, like especially tune that low, but I do love playing it. There's a lot of great riffs. Some of those riffs I've had, like the first riff Luna on there, I've had for like 12 years. I really had written that riff, and I had it stored away in my computer. And I started working on this record at home, and I pull that file up. I'm like, hey, this is a cool riff. I should try to use this riff. So like, there's riffs I've had forever that are just now starting to use on an actual record. But yeah, I love a good riff. There's nothing better. That's why I mean, Dimebag's one of my favorite guitarists of all time because he was the master at riffs. Like he was a king. I mean, now you look back and like, wow, he wrote some pretty classic riffs. So there's
Yeah.
nothing better than a good riff. I love trying to make the best riff I can find out of my hands.
Yeah, so now I gotta ask, what is your most favorite Dimebag
Ooh, the one I
riff?
always, ah, man, there's so many good ones. The name escapes me now. The first song on Far Beyond Driven. What song is that? Off the top of my head right now. But
What I'm drawing a blank too at the moment. Oh,
yeah,
oh my God, I should know this. I have listened to these albums, the
I
entire
know.
discography, like
Well, I was listening to Cowboys from Hell the other day, so now I'm like, my names are all over the place. But
yeah, and I just listened to Far Beyond Driven the other day too.
whatever the first song there, it's like I don't think it's even so much him. It's like when Vinny goes to kind of halftime, like right towards the middle of the song, and Dime's just going da 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 da. It's like it's just so heavy and so comes in so hard. I always love that riff. Um, I mean, there's one riff that tons of people ripped off a million times. I can't remember what song it was either. Um, I have to go through the songs to look at them, but I mean, there's so many. It's like hard to pick the songs because like I don't love, Walk is always a staple, or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
Cowboys from Hell. But there's certain riffs that Dimebag does that aren't actually the main part of the song. They're just like little like bridges that he's put in a heavy ass riff to get to the next part, and those are the riffs that I love. Like there's some that just comes out of the blue. You're like, oh, I didn't expect that riff, and he only uses like one time or maybe twice in the song. Those are the riffs that always catch me off guard. I'm like, oh, that's badass.
Strength
That's what I
beyond
loved about Diamond. What's that?
strength beyond strength. That's
Yeah, yeah,
that's the song.
yeah. That for when that I remember when that record came out and put that on, I'm like, oh damn, they got even heavier than the last record, which I thought was never, trying to go better than Vulgar is pretty much impossible. But they came out and like, oh, they came out even heavier on that next record, so I was stoked on that.
Yeah, there's some really, really heavy stuff, like even in reinventing the steel too. Like,
Yeah, it's funny when you're living in the moment, you just kind of take Pantera for what it is, and then now after all these years of them being gone, you look back on their catalog and like there's still no band that's even come close to them, like in that regard of being just a straight, heavy, like riff based band that there was no catchy choruses. I mean, Phil wasn't singing, like there hasn't been a band like that that's been as big as them that have kicked that much ass, musically. Like they're just one in a million. And I'm surprised no one actually is like taking the reins because Pantera wasn't they weren't the most technical band, like some of the riffs are you can play the riffs, some of the solos are pretty gnarly, but the riffs, they're not that hard. But I'm surprised no bands like just straight rip them off and try to go that route. I've never seen I know some bands have tried, but no one's even come close to being like how heavy and tight they were. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, they're definitely. I never got to see them live, but definitely there's something like so captivating, like just watching the videos with the crowd connection too. Like,
Yeah, I got to see him twice, and both times like
oh,
I was blown away. But now going back and watching old YouTube videos of them and I just seeing how like tight they were as a band, how tight Vinny and Dime were together. It's unreal. I mean, you don't find bands like that very often that are just like syncopated that with each other. It's crazy.
yeah. Okay. One more Pantera question, and then we'll we'll get back on Will Haven. Um, what shows were those that you saw them at? Like what tours?
So can't remember what year it was, but it was Pantera headline, Sepultura supported, and Prong opened up.
Oh, whoa.
So like that might have been the Far Beyond Driven tour, maybe. Um, yeah, I don't remember what tour it was, but that was the lineup. And then I saw them at Ozfest in whatever year they didn't headline on. It was one that Sabbath was on, I believe. Um, and they played. I think the show was here in Sacramento, maybe. But yeah, it was Ozfest one year, and it was really cool because we actually had toured with Kitty back in the day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we toured with them and Slipknot, and we became friends with the Kitty girls, and they were actually friends with Pantera guys. So they got us on stage. So we sat on the side of the stage, and watched Pantera, and then our drummer Wayne, the drummer Mercedes from Kitty, like grabbed Wayne and took him over to Vinny, and so they sat right next to Vinny while Vinny was playing. Like they sat right where the drum tech would be and watched Vinny play from like right there, and I was like, that was like so cool for him to be able to do that. So that was awesome. Yeah, they were on fire that day, that show too. But that was that kind of when Phil was kind of having his back problems and stuff. So he wasn't in the best of moods, but they still put on an awesome show. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's so cool though.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome night.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing those stories. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, so going back to Will Haven, you mentioned Five of Fire is one of your like most favorite riffs to play. Um, and there is also a music video or kind of like a visualizer out for that too. So
yeah,
what
correct.
what would you and it's kind of demented, like the way like it's up like that one still, it's not really a still, but the video of the the woman is like upside down. It's
Mm,
just
yeah.
really cool. Like my question though, like what are some of the like vibes and moods that you feel like not only when you watch the video, but when you play the song as well?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think Will Haven is it's funny because most all the guys in the band are really we're really just down to earth, really nice dudes. I mean, we don't have any not really a mean bone in our body. And but our music is very dark and very, you know, it's hard to explain. It seems like everything that we don't like outside of ourselves, we put into Will Haven, whether it be, stress or the world as it is, or just whatever it is. And it seems like it, our thing is like we on the surface we're angels, but when we're in Willhaven, we're the devil. So we live in this two different world. Like when we're in that Willhaven world, we see we're very dark and like we feel that darkness and we portray that darkness. But when we're not in the band, we're all super nice, happy guys, and we're just you know. So we have this weird dichotomy of these two worlds that we live in, where our art is very dark and evil, but when we're out not doing art, we're just normal people. So when we have videos and stuff, we kind of try to reflect that to where our music is very dark and sinister and um, just everything the underworld really is what our music is about. The underworld, the world that below us that just is dark and evil and corrupt and dirty, and that's kind of what our music represents, and that's why it has so it's spooky and it's heavy, but it's just kind of a story for what's going on underneath us, and our videos kind of portray that in a way. And that's Dave too. Dave did that video for us. But I mean, it all started with El Diablo. Our first record was about just the darkest, the most evilest stuff that we could think about, and we've kind of taken that through our whole career, is that imagery or whatever. But Dave kind of took it by the reins and made that video, and he's trying to encapsulate just the darkness of like just everyday life, and the underworld and how everything's not so pretty.
Yeah, our world is a crazy place at the moment.
Yes, it's getting crazier for sure. But but it's funny. It's like what I'm saying. If you don't watch the news, if you don't get into political stuff, if you just live your normal day life and stay away from that, life's pretty good. Like you
Yeah,
don't see crazy stuff on the streets. I mean, once in a while, but not every day. Everybody's friendly, everybody's hanging out, everybody's doing their business. You watch the news, whatever, then you're like, oh my God, this world's falling apart. It's
yeah,
so it's like whatever world you want to live in, that's where you can live in.
yeah. It makes it seem like the apocalypse is going on. It's like, because yeah, I'll be walking around in Fargo and like everyone is super cool and chill and
Yeah.
yeah, and happy. Well, for the most part, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
funny what the media likes to portray our world as.
oh yeah. I remember like there was a time like halfway through 2020 when COVID was going crazy. I was like, I actually took my TV off my wall, put it in the closet. I didn't watch TV for a month, and I totally forgot COVID was happening. Like I mean, a lot of places were closed, but I could still go out, hang out, go outside, walk. Like I had no idea what was going on. I was like, COVID even still going? I have no idea. So that was a lesson to me. Like, just stay away from that stuff. Don't watch it. It's destroying your brain.
Yes.
It's so 2020 got me a big lesson. Just turn the TV off. And so I barely watch TV anymore. I barely watch it ever.
Yeah, same here. Music is so much better.
Yeah, and it seems a lot of people have kind of has been a music resurgence, but I think because of that, people are like, before when music back in the day, it was our escape, and now it's like people are like, okay, now music is more of escape than it was back, 5 years ago. People seem to be gravitating toward music again, which is really cool.
It is. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So, so also, like within your entire discography, if you were to like step outside of your body or whatever and listen to your entire discography, what song or songs would be some of the ones that you are the biggest fan of?
Mm. Uh, When's a Change off our last record, Morte. I love that song. I love playing it live. It sounds killer live. It was a different song for us. It has kind of a it's kind of like Faith No More meets Dillinger kind of vibe, which I love. So that song for sure. I love Diablito a lot. I think every time I listen to that song, I thought that was going to be a cool song, cool single. Um, Mason off El Diablo. I always had a fondness for Mason. I just love Grady's lyrics in that song. I just love the vibe of it. Stick Up Kid is always a great song. Um, hmm. Yeah, I like the ones that we kind of challenged ourselves a little bit and created some kind of cool noises or vibe to a certain song. That's always my favorite. I don't think we've written my favorite yet. My ultimate, I think we're going to. Um, but I think if somebody asked me like what was my favorite Will Evans song, I'd probably say "Winds of Change." That song has always been like ever since you wrote it, it's always been the one that I every time I listen to, I'm like, damn, that's a pretty good song. Like we did some cool stuff on that song. And live, it just sounds amazing live too. So I would say that's probably my favorite.
Awesome. Well, those are all of my questions that I have for today until you guys come and do a tour and tour in Fargo, and then we can do an interview in person.
We played Fargo and we almost got killed in Fargo. So
What?
yeah. No, we were on tour with Soulfly and Neurosis, and Hatebreed was on that tour too. And we were driving to Fargo, and all of a sudden we see like there was like cornfields, and they were like bent over all the way to the ground. Like, what is going on? And then our van door started shaking, and I'm like, are we in a tornado? And so we flipped on the radio, and they're like, "There's a tornado warning for so and so on this highway." I'm like, we were right in the middle of it. And so we pull underneath the overpass, and we're sitting there, and like, oh man, like, what do we do? So I call my mom, like, hey, I think we're gonna be in a tornado. Like, what do we do? And she's like, I don't know, just stay still. And so we're like, let's just go for it, because we were only maybe like 20 miles out of Fargo. And so we just pinned it, and we just drove as fast as we could. We were the only people on the freeway. Everybody had like pulled off the freeway or like went a different way. And
Oh
we
my
made
God.
it though. But when we got to Fargo, we got to the venue, and the Neurosis guys had just, and the Soulfly people, that had just come back from eating at food. And they said when they were there, when they were at the restaurant, the tornado siren went off, and they escorted everybody into the freezer. So they locked them in the freezer for like a half an hour until the tornado passed. So that was our day in Fargo. It was pretty interesting.
Do you imagine being locked in a freezer with Max Cavalera?
Oh, right. And the Neurosis guys, yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah, we all made it out. We all made it alive. But yeah, that's my memory of Fargo.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, you can always come back again and there could
Yeah,
probably be another
we'll
crazy story.
yeah, we'll come back. When is non-tornado season in Fargo?
During the winter when it's just like -20.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to see which one's worse.
Yeah, that's an experience in itself. Oh my God. Just
Yeah.
being in that cold.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. We toured in the wintertime over the East Coast, and it was rough.
All right, but yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for talking to me, and yeah, checking up on the Will Haven world. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to get out to the world about Seven?
Uh, just thanks everybody for the. I mean, the support's been amazing. I haven't seen one bad review yet, which is pretty crazy. I've expected to see a couple, but I haven't seen one yet. So I would just say thank everybody for their love and support, and still supporting us after 30 years, and still liking our music. And hopefully, we get to a bigger audience. We can go tour more and see our people's lovely faces more than we do now. But yeah, just thank you for everything. We really appreciate it, and we don't take it lightly. We're here to spread our music as far as we can. So thanks everyone.
So, all right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of the evening.
You do as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the awesome stories.
Oh yeah, you got some stories in there. Everybody loves a story. All
All right. Well,
right,
see
all right. Take care, Jenna.
thanks. You too.
All right, bye.